Hi lovelies, it's me Tamela Clover. I'm doing another video for Dear Tamela, advice you can trust. Um, Today we're going to be going back to our advice on Reddit. I really like that. I think I started off doing like more of like the other forums that I've seen people do, but these questions tend to be very like they're actually asking for advice. And it makes it a little bit easier, and it kind of feels a little bit more true to if I was just sitting down with one of you and you had a question to ask me, um, a little bit more of like what the experience would really be like. And man, I think it'd be really awesome to get a chance to ever sit down with some of you and like just like talk things out. I really, it's one of my favorite things to do with like friends and family, and also like when I worked in mental health. I'm not working currently in mental health because of an injury, which is why I'm doing this, getting that need of like playing, not really therapist, but like more like skills training, advice, like peer-to-peer stuff. And man, it's one of my favorite things. Like, no matter where I go, what I do, it's something that's just part of who I am. And I'm excited to share that with all of you. So, without further ado, um, this this particular one post comes from 2 hours ago. It looks like, so it's pretty recent, um, and it says, one second. It says sex issues with my BF, and now am feeling constantly rejected. Okay. My boyfriend and I have been having issues with sex. I want it, and he is hardly interested. We had a talk about it, and I explained how when he says no or doesn't make any moves on me, it makes me feel rejected and unwanted. We had a great date night the other day, and after he said, "Let's go home so we can have some ice cream," in response, me being cheeky, I said, "How about I wear something sexy for you and lick the ice cream off of me? And you lick the ice cream off of me." He then says, "How about we don't make a big deal of things and see where the night goes?" I felt rejected and shut down again. He still doesn't understand why I felt shut down, and he believes his response is fine and was suggesting things could happen. Are my feelings valid? Any perspectives? Um, so my perspective is a couple things. This doesn't say how long they've been together. It doesn't talk about what their sexual relationship has been like in the past. Um, it doesn't answer any questions about did something come up recently where things changed. Uh, and it also doesn't say if they've talked about their previous history. So let's start with, first of all, I think the OP really needs to have a conversation about what they are feeling is like a normal amount of intimacy and sex in the relationship. Um, and maybe even just have a questionnaire where you guys write it down separately. Like, how often do you want to have sex in a week? How long do you want to have sex during those times? Like, are you comfortable initiating things, or do you want it to be initiated? What kind of thing needs to happen for you to feel in a position for to be willing and like ready to have intimate moments? There's like a whole bunch of questions that you can go through. I'm sure there's got to be like some like questionnaires out there, I am sure. um, Other things to consider too is like, so there's like how much sex do you guys want, and if those are different. The other thing is, what type of sex are you guys having? Like, maybe there's a mismatch in the type of things that you're looking for. And there are questionnaires I know for that. You guys could literally just do like a questionnaire that would go over just about every single possible like type of sexual thing you possibly think of, like things that you probably never thought of, and just like rank whether it's something you're interested in, not interested in, or possibly open to. Um, and then compare those. And like that is a really, I think, great way for couples to potentially see if there are areas that maybe they're missing, because sometimes it could be a little bit uncomfortable to talk to people, even people we've been with for a while, about like certain types of sexual interests, you know? It could be very nerve inducing. Um, and talking about your history can be another avenue that I think would be important, is, and not like doing it in a judgmental way. So again, I think sometimes maybe writing stuff down and being very honest, and then coming together and discussing it versus doing it in the moment, which, you know, somebody might like hold back a little bit, but like thinking about it and writing it down and like coming back together and just like discussing like, is this the way you always feel in relationships? Is like, are the things like that make a person want more or less intimacy, and other questions like what needs does sex meet? Because there's physical needs for some people, there's emotional needs, there's self-worth needs, there's like a lot of things that it can be meeting. Additionally, is there any trauma? Like, is there any trauma? Is there any health stuff? Looking at medications, like sometimes different medications can be a hindrance. Looking like with body image things, like has there been a change to either of your bodies? Like, it could be like a hormonal change from age. It could be like physical change. That and it could go both ways. Like a person could want less sex, like because they feel more uncomfortable with themselves. A person could want less sex because like changes have happened with you. And I know that might seem to some people like, oh my gosh, what a jerk if that's the case. Like, no, I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're attracted to what we're attracted to. And like, I think the OP is having a lot of troubles here. And I feel like honesty needs to be the best policy. And it's going to be on both people to be responsible and kind adults and just have some really deep, serious, honest communication. And it sounds like it needs to go further than like, I just need more. So some of that, some other things to consider if like the partner is reporting or reports that they just don't want a lot of sex. Like, if it's not medicine, if it's not other things, whatever, maybe they're somewhere like on the asexual spectrum. And you know, that makes things complicated. I've known people who are asexual. It's totally valid. And it's unique how, for each person who's asexual, how they deal with that. I'm not, so I'm not gonna like go too much into all that. What I'm saying is that's a conversation to have. And it's totally valid even if you're not asexual to like not want a lot of sex, you know? And seeing like what can be done in a relationship too. Like, so say you find out that there's a mismatch, okay? One partner wants it a lot, one partner doesn't want it at all, really. Or they need a whole bunch of certain things to happen in order to get to a place where they are comfortable having things happen. And at that point, looking at other options too, like other options such as self-care, other options such as, how can I get the intimacy in my relationship without sex? Because there's a lot of things that can be intimate. Snuggling can be very intimate, massages can be intimate, bubble baths together can be intimate, holding hands on a beach, like, you know, watching your favorite TV show, cooking a dinner together, listening to music. Like, there's so many things out there that are very intimate and like can ways to connect that aren't just sex. And so that's something to look at in the relationship. Another thing that has to be addressed though is if there's a mismatch and those things aren't enough for the OP. They really need a certain amount, and like when they go through a whole bunch of these steps, they find that it's a mismatch, and it doesn't seem like there's much that can be done. Like, it's not like some changes like, oh, I can wear a costume and like everything's good, or like, you know, whatever. um then we come to the point of, and now what? Because you cannot make somebody have sex with you. And I'm not saying the OP is saying that. What I'm saying is, like, it is not, in my opinion, right to put pressure on somebody. It is okay to say, I need this amount of physical intimacy, sexual intimacy in my relationship. I need that. That's kind of like a deal breaker for me. But that doesn't mean that you get that from that partner. What that means is you have a choice. If it's a deal breaker and the other person can't, meet that need, then you can leave the relationship. That's an option. You could also think of alternative things, like maybe opening the relationship up a little bit. That's complicated. It's easier if people are actually poly, meaning that they are able to have feelings and attraction for multiple people at once. That helps. But even when you are polyamorous, that doesn't mean that you're comfortable in non-monogamous relationships, and like that could be a very difficult thing to navigate in your relationship. But sex can be a very big deal, and while you might be able to, like, the OP might be able to go a while without having as much as they want, that might not be sustainable. And that's the thing, and that's totally valid. And that's hard, and that would be really sad for them to like have things not work out because of that. But there are a whole lot of different ways to do non-monogamy in a ethical, consensual way, and navigating that could be an option if the OP and the boyfriend are willing to do that. Another thing is, the OP should examine why it makes her feel so rejected. And I do get it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I also kind of get like the boyfriend being like, oh, like, let's just see how it goes, and like things like that. And like, there's a whole bunch of reasons why all this can be going on. Like I said, there's just not enough information, honestly, to really know. But you can't have, it's like, it's not super healthy, in my opinion, to have your whole self-worth or sexual self-worth tied up into one person. The reality is, some people are going to be more attracted to you than others. Some people are going to be more sexual than others, whether or not they're attracted to you or not. Some people are going to be into different things. Sometimes there could be life stressors, and that's something to really consider too. Is like, is there things going on in your life? Like, maybe there's a sick family member, maybe there's trouble at work, in one of your guys' jobs, maybe you have children. There's like a whole bunch of things that can be life stressors too, that can really impact that. There could be medication, trauma, health issues. There's so many things that can impact sexuality, and the amount and consistency that we want it, and the way that we want it. I myself am polyamorous. I've figured that pretty early on into like dating. Like, I'm pretty lucky. I've never actually had a fully monogamous relationship, and I have done a lot of work with people who are questioning or who end up becoming polyamorous. I want to say this is not about convincing people to do that. It's just an option on the table if people want it. you know. And I think the option goes both ways, like assuming people can do it. Like if you can't do that kind of relationship, you can't do it, and that's what it is. But it's good to like consider all the potential options when weighing what you want to do and seeing what works for you and for your partner. um, I will say, because of the way my relationships are structured, I don't rely on anybody to be all of everything for me. So my main partner, which I've talked about before, I've been with him for about 14 years, and we were friends before that, and our relationship is very much based on friendship. And so there have been times where like there's been more intimacy, like sexual intimacy, and then there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's difficult for us, um, that have nothing to do with skill or love, or whether or not we think the other person's attractive. Some of it I think has to do with chemistry, and also just like being like so heavy in the friend department, that it's just like a little bit difficult to like get there. um and that's a thing, like for me personally. um my The amount of sex I want with people and the kind of sex I want with people and the duration of the sex, it varies wildly depending on the person. And that doesn't mean that I like some people more than others. It just means that that's just like how I respond. um and like some people, like it takes a really long time to get things going. Other people, I'm like, I can't do anything except for like, like sleep with you. And like there's a whole spectrum for me. And I think some people are kind of like me, and then some people are more like they're very consistent. They like what they like. It's the same thing. It doesn't, it doesn't really change too much depending on who they're with. And I think that's a perfectly valid way of being as well. um my thing is, if somebody's not feel like, if they're not wanting to be as intimate as me, I try not to take it personally. You know, it's probably not meant to be personally, especially if the person is choosing to be in a relationship with you. You know, I'm in a position where like I can get different needs met elsewhere. I will say sometimes it is frustrating. Um, you might want to have all of your needs met and committed, serious relationships. Sometimes that can happen, sometimes it doesn't. Um, and I don't know, it's just like being with people in general, like relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, all the relationships, they're just hard. And like we just have to meet people where they're at. And I think, again, being honest and truthful about what you need, what you require, what your deal breakers are, um, and making a safe space for other people to do the same is very important. It's very important. People always have the option to leave relationships if they're not working for them. Um, I know there's some people out there who think that poly people don't actually have feelings and can't love. For me, I sometimes feel like it's the opposite. Like I care too deeply. I care too much. Like I have a lot of love, and it's not all about love. For me, there's a wide spectrum of why I interact with people, platonically and romantically. But I think it could be. Guys, I honestly don't know where exactly was going with that. It's just sometimes I get going and ADHD takes over my brain, which is like, oh, I'm doing advice. But what I'm saying is, it can be hard. It can be hard, um, and we we don't have to be in any relationship. We don't have to. And sometimes really good relationships need to end. And I'm not saying that because I'm poly. Ending relationships is as hard for me as it is for anybody. It hurts just as much. Um, you know, and making that choice is just as difficult. For myself, And this is outside, I think, of being polyamorous. This is how I live my life. It's like people don't owe themselves to me. I am so grateful when I find people that I love, that love me, and like that I can share things with, you know. And when I invest in somebody, I'm hoping oftentimes for that to be an ongoing long-term thing. But at the end of the day, people have to do what is best for themselves. And that doesn't it doesn't matter what kind of, like, whether you're like some kind of like LGBTQ or like straight or like, cis or, polyamorous or monogamous or whatever. It doesn't matter. We all deserve to have love and to have healthy relationships and to have our needs met. But we don't have the right to demand that from specific people. We have a right to negotiate that with people. And if they don't meet those needs and they don't meet the arrangement that we've agreed upon, then we have the right to leave. Um, People, each person, including you are your own unique self. And like, you deserve to live your life. And that goes not just relationships like that we normally think of, like family, friends, partners. It also goes for work, because work really tests this a lot. It's if something's not working for you, you have a right to like move on, and like that could be really tragic. Like I remember this one relationship I had, and I was like really into this guy, like just so into him, and like, and when we were together, it was so lovely. It was just, everything about it was lovely. Like, I can't say a negative thing. We never fought. If like, everything was just really great. The problem is, like, there wasn't like the level of commitment that was necessary there. And even though after a few years, like, we got to the point of saying that we were trying for certain things, like, oh, like, this is my partner and all that, we got to that level. At the end of the day, like, I actually ended that relationship, and it was really hard for me because there weren't any fights, there weren't anything to really point to, except for they didn't choose me like fully, and while that's sometimes okay with me in certain casual things, like, not for the level that I cared about this person. Like, and I just decided I deserved to be fully chosen, like, to be a priority. And that was one of my things, and that was really complicated and difficult. And there's all kinds of like other examples I can give for reasons why I haven't been in relationships or why people haven't been in relationships with me. But the point is, we deserve happiness, and we shouldn't, like, it's a difficult thing, because like when you are in a relationship, you're combining things, right? You're saying, I'm gonna give up a little bit of my say on everything, and you're gonna give up a little bit of your say on everything, and we're gonna like have some joint shared say. Essentially, we're gonna stop being individuals, and we're gonna start merging more into a new self, a new coupled. And there could be more than one person in that, you know um, whatever the relationship structure, this still applies. But I kind of like the ideal of kind of being grateful for like what you have in the moment. And while I do invest in my relationships, one of the things that's really worked for me in my longest relationship is that we always said that we didn't want to try to get to a point where, like, kind of like we get tenure, like relationship tenure. We're like, now we don't need to try. Like, we got to this stage, and like, now you're just mine, and like, you need to follow all these rules, and you can never change, and like, you can never leave. And it's like that. It's like, no, for us, like, it's always like, we want to try to be the people for each other where we always want to be together. We always want to be together, and we're always a positive variable in each other's lives, and work towards that. And I think there's a key difference there. But we also leave room, and there have been a few points in my time with my partner that I've been with for 14 years and friends with longer than that. where I've gone to them and said, like, for various reasons, like, if you need to, like, do something else, like, if you need to not be in this relationship, that would be like devastating. But like, I love you and I want the best for you, and like, and I meant that in those moments, and it really would have been like crushing. It still would be. But when you love somebody, I think a healthy place to be is like, it's not just about getting your needs met. You have to view them as their own person, and be willing to like let them like do their own thing if things aren't working with you. So we're gonna go back to the original question of the OP, and it's like, start with the first things I said, the getting more information, trying to figure things out and whatnot, and then go to the second thing, which is like, if you guys can't like change, if this is just how it is, can you live with it? If you can't, what alternatives are there? And if you can't find any, are you willing to like move on? Because it's, in my opinion, it's not fair of the OP to say like, this person needs to do this, and that includes putting a lot of pressure on the person. And I hope it really is just something simple, like, or something that can be worked on. I hope that maybe it's something that, you know, the boyfriend isn't comfortable talking about, that once addressed can like really make a change. But yeah, that's my advice to everybody. I know this one was a little bit all over the place and chaotic. I don't know. Sometimes I have my ADHD moments, but just remember, you are worthy. You are valid. You deserve the best things in life. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't work on things. That doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for things that we care about. It does. It doesn't mean that. But you shouldn't sacrifice yourself. Like, if you know that doing something cannot bring you any like, it doesn't bring you happiness, like it doesn't work, then find the like best, most ethical way to like change your situation to one that you could tolerate. First and foremost, we all have to find our own way to continue on, and secondly, we need to find ways to be good to people, and I think honesty is a really big first step. I know it can be really scary and really hard to be like very direct and very honest about things, especially if the consequence might be the ending of something that means a lot to you. But just like, you're valuable and you're worthy and you deserve all of the good things, other people deserve those things as well. And it's a balance between like what we need, and what other people need, what we deserve and what they deserve. You know, it's a balance, and it can be complicated. But I really hope that this bit of advice is helpful, if not to the OP, then to somebody. And feel free, like always, to one, subscribe. You know, you'll be notified for more videos and different content. And two, if you have questions, comments, feel free to like post those. And also, like, both like under the video, on there's like a community section, I think, on the page. And yeah, I thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your lives, lovelies, and I really hope you have a wonderful and fulfilling rest of the night.